At the end of World War I, millions of soldiers' personal artifacts were left on the battlefields. Most were destroyed, others lost, buried, and forgotten.
For a military historian, war artifacts all have a story to tell, especially personal items with names and numbers etched on them. By accessing military records, with the help of Ancestry's assistance on family history, we can actually connect the lost artifacts with a particular soldier, as well as the family of that soldier.
In our search for lost artifacts, we were honored to be given the opportunity to explore and investigate the iconic First World War battlefield, Vimy Ridge.
The Battle of Vimy Ridge is considered Canada's greatest military victory. A ferocious battle fought over 4 days between April 9th and 12th, 1917. Vimy Ridge was actually only one sector of a larger battle raging in the area.
We have explored many First World War battlefields. Few still have the scars of war, quite like Vimy Ridge.
That's the last German trench line. Wow. Right down there, you can see the distinct zigzag pattern of a German trench.
Canadian troops reached the crest of the ridge on April 12th, which marked the end of the Battle of Vimy Ridge, a victory that came at a very steep price.
The Canadian Memorial has 11,000 names on it. Where it's positioned, it really is the ultimate sign of victory for the Allies.
Seeing Vimy from the air was unbelievable, but this was only the beginning of our journey.
In our search for lost artifacts, we venture into a restricted off-limits area of Vimy Memorial Park. After spending time above Vimy Ridge, we're now going to explore below Vimy.
Look at that. Holy. One of the least known aspects of World War I battles, including Vimy Ridge, is the underground war. There are literally thousands of kilometers of tunnels dug during the war that remain untouched over a century later.
And now, Dave and I are going to get an opportunity to investigate one tunnel that was key to victory at the Battle of Vimy Ridge.
See you down there, Dave. Every step going back 100 years. I'm down.
The tunnel system we are exploring today is called the Goodman Subway.
Okay, I'm in the skinny part now, and I can see it opening up.
The Goodman Subway was dug 9 meters below ground, and it ran for 1.2 kilometers all the way out into no man's land. The subway tunnel enabled Canadian assault troops to move safely towards the German trenches without having to withstand a torrent of enemy fire on the surface. This part of the tunnel is in excellent condition, much as it would have been about 100 years ago. But there is still a chance of collapse and plenty of other nasty surprises in the form of unexploded ordnance.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 grenades here, I think.
I guess we have to be very careful where we step.
As we move deeper into the Goodman Subway, we come across something unexpected.
I'm standing right here, and I just see it must be, what, 10 names here?
At least. Looks like Norton or Morton from the 52nd Battalion. Campbell, 5th Canadian Mounted Rifles. They were actually in this subway during the attack on April 9th.
And there's one down here, Dave, look.
And then it looks like RAAF Roflab. And it looks like A Company, 116th Battalion Canadians in France.
Then a few meters down the tunnel,
Dave.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
a veritable wall of remembrance.
Totally amazing.
You imagine what was going through their minds when they were sitting down here. They could hear the fighting above, and this whole area was probably shaking. Yet they took the time to leave what could have been their last mark. At that moment, it really felt as if we were walking with ghosts.
We knew leaving the Goodman Subway that we had a tremendous yet challenging story to investigate.
We had about 50 names to research. Our objective was to find one family to connect to a name of a soldier on the wall of the Goodman Subway.
And it didn't take long to strike gold with George Roflab from the 116th Battalion. By delving deep into Ancestry's archives, we uncovered the birth registry from the Parry Sound district of Southern Ontario at the turn of the 20th century. One of the children listed was George Roflab, born on June 2nd, 1900.
Then we cross-referenced this with the attestation paper for a George Roflab, which for the most part matched up with the basic information on the census, with one glaring exception. When he enlisted in January of 1916, they recorded his birth year as 1896 and not 1900.
This meant that George was only 15 when he went off to war and was just shy of his 17th birthday when he signed his name to the wall of the Goodman subway.
There was another key piece of evidence on his attestation paper. George enlisted in Orillia, Ontario, which, coupled with his rather unique family name, gave us a great place to start.
After more digging, we found George Raflab's son, Robert. We had to bring him over to France to meet us.
Gentlemen, how are you?
Robert arrived with his cousin Jacqueline.
Well, thank you so much for coming to Vimy Ridge.
Robert was quick to tell us that he didn't know much about his father's experiences during the war, and he had no clue that his father actually served at Vimy.
Dad never mentioned hardly anything about the war
Really?
to us as kids.
The most stressful thing about taking Robert and Jacqueline to the Goodman subway was that we never told them about George's signature. And also,
the fact that we kept them in the dark about having to go down into a tunnel under Vimy Ridge.
we truly didn't know how they would react.
We want to take you under Vimy Ridge and show you something that proves that George was here in 1917.
Ready to go back 100 years into your family history?
Sure. Got to go underground to do it.
You got it.
Excellent.
All right, let's get ready.
All righty. We're good.
Once we got down in the tunnel, we didn't just take them below ground. We took them back in time. On April 9th, 1917, when the attack was about to start, they started filtering soldiers down in here. And what we're doing is we're heading towards the frontline trenches.
So you can start to see things like, look at this right here. You see other names?
Ross?
Naturally, they were intrigued at the sight of the soldier signatures.
D. Ross?
They were really leaving their last marks, if you will,
Yeah.
before they went into the Battle of Vimy Ridge.
And there's another little grouping of names here.
Herbie?
Yeah.
Hardy?
Oh, I see.
Oh, my goodness.
There's your father's signature.
116 Battalion, is that it?
You got it.
Yeah.
My signature for their surname is almost identical.
How does it feel to be standing where he was 100 years ago?
Privileged?
It was truly an emotional moment for Robert, seeing his father's signature from a century ago.
The thing is, of all the relatives, I'm the only one.
Now it was time to tell Robert about his father's time at Vimy. It was a tale he never knew. They were in a follow-up battalion that was pushing up ahead in no man's land. And your father went into action when the 60th Battalion took their sector of the ridge. And he was fighting pretty much right above where we are right now.
I think you would have come through these tunnels to access the trenches.
And more than likely, that was the time that he took to put this here. If your father was here, what would you tell him?
Probably that I now appreciate what he did. I'm more proud of him now.
It's been over 100 years since men and women like George Raflab served in the First World War.
Many of their stories, like this one, still remain untold.
To honor our ancestors, we must discover their stories.
And celebrate their grit, tenacity, and above all, their humanity.